Howdy bubs and welcome back. Today we're going to be jumping into GameMaker and creating our own pause screen menu. With that in mind, let's go ahead and jump into our game manager. So we have our game manager, it's managing most of the game components. We're wanting to add a pause screen. So we're going to create one additional event, the key pressed P. So again, add event, key press, and you can look for the letter P. I'm going to use that to mark how I'm going to pause. We're going to want to open up our create event, the draw GUI event, and then the key press event for P. Over in our create event, let me go ahead and maximize this so we can focus on the code. Remember, F8 increases the font size without making it pixelated. So over in here, I've added two variables already. There's the paused variable and then the paused surface. The paused variable initializes to false. We start the game off, we're not going to have it paused to begin with. And then this paused surface, we're going to use this later, but we initialize it to -1 or nothing for our purposes. We just need to make sure it exists at the beginning. Moving into our key press P event, or whatever character you have select for your program. In here, we're going to take our paused variable and set it equal to the opposite of its current value. So if we are not paused, we will now be paused. If we were paused, we will now no longer be paused. That's what this line does. It simply flips that. With our if statement, we're actually going to be checking to do something. If we are not paused, the game is active. I need to make sure that the game is activated all instances within our game. Surface free ensures that it releases from memory the current active surface. We're going to be dealing with surfaces in the draw GUI step. But this is just memory management in the background. And then we reset our paused surface to no longer exist or not be tied to anything. So again, we're just swapping what the current pause state is, and then if we are now entering an activated or not paused anymore, we make sure all of our game components are active. We free up the memory that contains the surface, and then paused surface is now unassigned to anything of note. Now this is where all the meat and bones of the draw GUI event comes into play. Right now on our draw GUI, we just draw scores. We're also going to add in an pause menu. So this is our initial setup. This is our writing the scores. Now between the setup and write scores, we're now going to be drawing the surface. Because what I want to have occur is whenever I hit run and I press the P key, I want my surface to still be visible in the background, but I want to have a faded background with a large text on the front that says paused. So this code accomplishes that. I'm going to move this over so we can see more of it and shrink it down just a little bit so it all fits on the screen. There you go. So this block here, if we're paused, then it does this whole block. If we're not paused, it's completely ignored. So then we check if a surface does not exist. That's the not operator. Just check to see if paused surface has a value. If it does not exist, then that means we just got paused in the last step. So paused surface is equal to -1. We then deactivate everything in the game world except for, if you have true, except for what is calling it. So this controller, this game manager, does not get deactivated. When something is deactivated, it still exists in our game. It still is in our room. However, none of its events are fired. There is no step event. There's no draw event. No event is occurring in the background. Deactivate removes all of that. If this was set to false, it would also deactivate our game manager. That kind of defeats the purpose of what we're working with. So I set this to true, so that way our game manager sticks around because we need it to handle us unpausing. And then, since we're still in this step, for a single step, everything in the room is currently visible. In this step, in the single frame, we're going to create a surface the same size as our room, save it as paused surface, and then set the target to be the paused surface, and then draw onto it our application surface. So just grab everything that's currently on the screen, and then reset the target. What this all collectively is working towards is copying everything that was on the screen. It's capturing it to be drawn in the future. Because as I said, with instance deactivate, none of our objects will draw themselves anymore. We're essentially copying everything that was on the screen at this moment so we can draw it again later. And that later comes into play over here. Immediately after we have paused it, only this block fires. Every step after it has been paused, it will instead do this. It will then draw the current surface, everything that was copied back here. It then makes a slightly transparent. Setting alpha gives you a value between 0 and 1, with 0 being completely transparent, 1 being completely opaque. And so we draw a 50% transparent or 50% opaque rectangular box that covers the entire room. It's black. The entire thing is black, covers the entire screen. And so this adds like a darkened effect on the background. I then reset alpha for anything else that we need to draw in the future is back to its normal levels. And then I have a colored text that gets drawn onto the screen. I have it at my center X, center Y, and it just has all caps paused. I scale it up a little bit. I don't rotate it. And then I just have it as blue. With this, we are now drawing what was copied right after the game was paused. I then make a slightly transparent black box. I set everything back to normal, and then I draw a text on the center that says paused. Again, make sure this occurs before you write the score, because otherwise the score won't get captured and written correctly. And that's actually all you need. Our create event just keeps track of whether the game is paused, and then our paused surface is initialized to nothing. If I press the P key, it swaps the current pause state. If it was paused, it becomes unpaused. If it was not paused, it is now paused. Then if the game is not paused, it just got swapped. We make sure we activate everything that got deactivated in our draw GUI step. We clear up the surface memory, and then we set this back to -1. Over in our draw GUI, between setting up the font and writing the score, we also check to see if we are currently paused. We check, did we just get paused? If we just got paused, we make sure to deactivate everything and capture the current surface. Everything that is currently in the game, capture that image. Every step afterwards, while we were paused, we then draw the current surface, what was captured earlier, and then make a slightly transparent black box that covers the screen, and then draw the text paused. Let's go ahead and see what this looks like. So now I'm in the game, I'm playing, and let me get a few more things onto the screen. There we go. Now if I press P, we see the background has a slight darkening to it because of the black box that was slightly transparent that was laid over everything. And we have brightly out in the front the word paused. And then our score is still displayed. Everything's perfectly fine. I can press P again. It unpauses and we're good to go. And see here, I'm going to pause. Everything's frozen. I press P again, it unpauses. And that's all you actually need to know for creating your pause menu. If you want to get more creative, there's tons of things that you can do within this section. After we have drawn this out, it would be all under the else block. It's up to you what you want to implement. Maybe you change this up and draw this over here, so you have to pause the game to see the high score perhaps. It's up to you. Your game, your design. You can also change these colors. You can modify the position. You can change the text. Again, your choice. Otherwise, that's all I have for y'all today. If you have any questions or need any assistance, just let me know in class. Everyone, have a good one. I just wanted to say thank you to all of my Patreon supporters. Shout out to my bad bubs, my top 5, my day ones. Y'all have always been there for me. Next up, my baby bubs, the next 5. I always love y'all's support. And finally, for everyone else, any little bit helps. Thank you to all my basic bubs for supporting me along my journey. If you want to continue receiving notifications, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and don't forget to hit that bell button.